Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of a Stonewall's Perspective podcast. I'm your host, Alexander Stone. In today's episode, we have another very special guest with us. He is one of my best friends, one of the greatest friends that I could ever have in the world. He's just the kindest guy. Please welcome the founder of America First Media Group, the DC Patriot. Please welcome Matt Couch. How are you doing today, brother?
Hey, Alex, thanks for having me, man. It's great to be back on with you.
Great to have you on again. So today we're going to be talking about his Faith and Freedoms conference that he started on May 13th, and the next one is going to be in August 6th through 8th, I believe. Is that it?
Sure. That's the plan right now. Yes, sir.
Awesome. So we're going to be just talking about that, his mind behind why he started it, faith and freedom. But before we do that, it's been since November since we had the podcast. So just remind everyone a little bit about who you are and kind of what you do.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'm an investigator and a political analyst. So I've investigated a lot of things out there that are unsolved around the country, and then I've got a voice. I fight for congressional candidates and Senate candidates, and basically just fighting for America First values and putting God first. Putting God first in everything. And so our slogan, is God First, America Always. But yeah, I founded the DCPatriot.com. It's an up and coming news site, one of the larger ones on the conservative scale. And then on all my social media platforms, I'm at Real Matt Couch. You can find me anywhere from, Twitter to Gab to Instagram to Telegram. I'm Facebook. I'm all over the place. Try to be, our slogan for what I tell people when I speak is be everywhere as conservatives, because that's the only way you don't get censored.
Yep.
But mainly just trying to, fight for our country because I believe it's worth saving. And we're trying to, I've got probably 30 plus candidates in the U.S. Congress and Senate that are running, as well as Chad Prather, who's running for governor of Texas, and people that I'm backing and working with. And so that's kind of where my passion's at right now. Is I believe, the conservative movement as a whole, Alex, they think that the Democrats are the number one problem, and I'm not saying that they're not a problem, but we know what the Democrats are going to do. They're going to boo God at their convention. They hate Christians. They love abortion. We know what their party is all about. It's not going to change. Day in and day out, it's simple. They don't like you. Anyone who is a Christian, they don't like you. If you love babies, they don't like you for all those different reasons. If you like God, they don't like you. So we get that. We kind of get the anger and the angst about them. But I believe the only way we save America is we have to get the true kind of snakes out of our own party. There are so many rhinos, Republican in name only, that are not doing what they're supposed to do. They're not representing you or your folks, or representing myself and my folks, or my kids or whoever. They're literally just playing to the corporations, playing the Washington D.C. game, accomplishing nothing, and not fighting for their constituents. And we saw that with what happened, with the president. We had 11 rhinos that voted to impeach him. And then we had 35 rhinos that voted for this idiotic commission because they were upset that a bunch of 60-year-old truck drivers took selfies inside the Capitol. At this point, it's just gotten silly. And in all honesty, there was no one that was, there was not one Trump supporter that killed anyone at the Capitol. That's been proven. The New York Times, all these big liberal outlets have retracted all that nonsense. The only person who was killed was a 34-year-old gorgeous female Air Force veteran, spent 14 years in the Air Force. She was married, and she was shot at point blank range in the face by a Capitol police officer. No one has they still haven't even released this person's identity. That's what I'm fighting for, is basically, we have to get some integrity back in our country. We have to get Republicans in office who put God first and who actually want to, fight for the rights of America and what America was founded on. And I'll yield back.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that everyone should be fighting for integrity, fighting for faith, fighting for freedom. And it seems like it's come to a point where the Democrats don't like freedom. Like they certainly don't appreciate freedom because of all of the scam of 2020. Like, that was disgusting.
The scam now,
And
right?
it was so fake. The Dr. Fraudchi, like it's all crazy, like what's going on in the world. And the liberals, it seems like they don't like the freedom that we formerly had, but before 2020, all they want is masks, and they want the freedom to choose to abort, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean you know it's accurate now with what we know with Dr. Fauci coming out this week. The emails showing that masks don't do anything, which it's amazing. We all said, hey, masks don't do anything. We were attacked by liberals and even some conservatives who didn't have the courage to stand up for their own rights. People like you and myself and others were attacked, and so now we've been vindicated there. We are right. You look at the
Mhm.
election. People said, oh, they're trying to silence anyone who challenges the election. You're not allowed to say I don't believe so and so won.
Mhm.
This is a free country, a free republic. We're not a democracy. A democracy means mob rules. That's what the left likes to throw out that term
Mhm.
democracy all the time. We are a constitutional republic for a reason.
Mhm.
And literally, now you're looking at what's happening in Maricopa County. I don't care who you are. You don't send 100 lawyers to prove to hide your victory. The Democrats have sent over 100 lawyers to Arizona. The Department of Justice, Biden's weaponized DOJ with the new Attorney General Merrick Garland, who is very upset because he didn't get chosen as a Supreme Court justice, and McConnell and the GOP blocked him right before Trump was elected. They wouldn't approve him. So it's a weaponized DOJ. Now we see that Biden, no one's talking about this, wants to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. That's because he wants to target conservatives, right? They're going
Mhm.
to come after each and every one of us who speak out against them. That's the goal of that, and weaponize it just like Obama did against the churches. Um, it's time to stand up, Alex, for our side of the aisle. It is time to get people in there who will fight for you, who will fight for God first, who will fight for America first principles.
Mhm.
Um, but this whole thing's, so we've proven now that the virus thing was a scam with Fauci. That's been proven with all the emails. I'm sure the vaccine thing will eventually be proven as well. And then now with Maricopa County, they're about to do the same thing in Philadelphia and Nevada, or sorry, Pennsylvania and Nevada. I guess it will be Philadelphia. That's going to be the target of that one. But so when these states start, doing these audits, I do agree with we both have a mutual good friend, Eric Matheny. I do agree
Mhm.
with Eric, from his legal standpoint, he's an attorney. They are going to kick this can down the road. I don't think you're going to see President Trump reinstalled. Let's just say Maricopa comes out and they say there were 412,000 votes that were illegally cast for Joe Biden.
Mhm.
Donald Trump is your winner. Well, they've got this new civil rights division that they just enhanced to call anybody who questions the vote a racist. So they're going to bring that person in who's at the DOJ. He's like it's like I'm a big fan of the show NCIS, so I guess he's like some sort of director Vance type position. So he'll come out to Arizona with all of his goons, and then they'll count again. You see where I'm going with this,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And then Nevada, Mindy Robinson, I know she's a fighter. She's going to head that up out there. And let's say they prove it in Nevada. Well, guess what? Here comes the Civil Rights Division with another truckload of goons, and they're going to recount. And it's just going to, it's going to be a tennis match. They're going to go
Right.
back
Back
and
and
forth.
forth.
And then by the time anything's done, we're already in 2024 for the election.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going to happen. And so at this point, I think sure, you want to prove the fraud, so you show the American people that you're holding these people to the fire. But anyone who thinks that Donald Trump in the next 3 months they're going to come out with a cane and pull Joe Biden off and push Donald Trump out on stage and go, he's back. Never happened in our nation's history. It's not happening now. And I believe conservatives, Republicans who don't understand that are forgetting that, folks, they control the White House. They control the Senate. They control the Congress. They control the judges, and they control the Department of Justice. So even if you prove the fraud, Alex, how do you get somebody to do something about it? Now you'll back
You
and
can't.
yeah, okay. All right. So we're on the same
It,
page as usual.
right. Exactly. There's no constitutional way of that happening, and even if there was, nothing would happen because of like what you just said. They control the House, the Senate, the presidency, the judges, everything. And I think it's crazy how naive people in the Republican Party are, that they're blindly believing all of the things that, like, whatever Q is saying.
Right,
Like,
right.
trust the plan. Like
Full
the
character,
plan.
you know,
What? Say that again.
full character, if you will. Every time somebody says that to me, I mean, I let people believe what they believe. I don't, I haven't taken a pro or an anti stance just because, they can believe what they want, but it's
Hmm.
becoming dangerous at this time. it's starting to get a little dangerous. Every time somebody mentions a certain letter, I picture the old Sesame Street with like Elmo and Grover, and they're dancing with what's the letter, and it's the letter of the day, and then they're holding up the big Q, and dancing with it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of my. I just don't at this point, Alex. I don't know. I mean, how many times? I mean, name one person that's gone to jail. They keep claiming all these arrests are coming. Name one person that's gone to jail.
None, none. I can't.
And we're going on what 4 or 5 years of this charade now.
It's crazy.
All right, we're on the same page as usual. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mess, and like you said, I let people believe what they want to believe, but it's getting dangerous. And one of the things that I think that's kind of crazy about the movement is the lack of outspokenness from pastors. Like, where are the pastors at? Chad Prather said in the concert at your conference, like, as Texas goes, so goes the nation. I thought that was funny, but I disagree. I think that as the church goes, so goes the nation. As the pastors go, so goes the nation. And I
Right.
think the pastors are like completely out of like talking about what's going on, faith, freedom. It's not happening, and I think it needs to.
No, I agree with you. I mean, you and I, some of my great friends in life, Pastor Brian Gibson and Pastor Greg
Yeah.
Locke, Pastor Mark Burns. I mean, these are the kind of the guys, Pastor Dave Scarlett. These are the guys I run with. They're warriors for Christ, warriors for America. They fight for God first and America always, and America first principles. They've gotten churches open. They kept their churches open when everybody else closed their churches. So
Hmm.
these guys are true warriors for Christ in the country. And I agree. I think the church's weakness has caused the fall of America. And the fact that churches aren't standing up to tyrannical mayors and city councils and governors,
Hmm.
state representatives, that's a big problem. That's what's caused this mess. As you saw the article that came out this week, there's a supposedly, big shocker. I mean, I don't know what it is with the Chinese people and birds, but they've got like infatuation with doing things with animals they shouldn't. Um, Now they're saying there's a new strain of a bird flu, but at first case in humans,
Hmm.
you have to eat that or do something very derogatory to a bird, to get bird flu, especially a new strain. I mean, it's just what are they doing over there with birds in China? And you get to the point where it's like there's one country that's causing all these problems, and nobody. And then if you say it came from that country, you're a racist or
Yeah.
you're a xenophobe, or social media and big tech tries to ban you. I mean, uh, it's just sad. But getting back on the churches, I think they've got to stand up. They've got to say, you know what, we're standing for Christ.
Hmm.
Jesus didn't make the lepers, put on masks when he was walking and talking to them. And the disciples weren't walking around. The apostles weren't walking around. Uh, you know, uh, you know, talking to Jesus, going, we'd love to help you in this town, but can we make the people put on masks? I don't recall reading that, in the New Testament, but you know where I'm going with this. I think
Yeah.
it's just silly at this point. Either your faith moves mountains, or mountains move your faith. And,
Hmm.
and at this point, people have got to, especially, and these are pastors. I haven't gone to seminary school, and my faith is stronger than it's ever been in my life. And I credit that to God above, and I've got some great mentors. But I always tell people, I'm not a preacher, but I'm a believer,
Hmm.
and I do a little preaching here and there, but not like my buddies do. But man, it's what is going on with these pastors? Why are they cowards? Why are they not opening their churches? Why are they not standing up to these tyrannical cities and mayors? Um, and here's the thing: guys like me, guys like Pastor Brian Gibson and Greg Locke, and Pastor Mark Burns. If you're a pastor in America, and you want to open your doors and you think they're going to come and close you down, you can get a hold of us, and we'll
Hmm.
come to your state. There's no doubt in my mind. There's not with the group I run with that I couldn't get a truckload of influencers and pastors there to stand with you and get your church doors open.
Wow.
Uh, it just doesn't make any sense at this point. If you're still limiting your congregation, if you're still masking up, if you're still not open, the issues with your faith and your faith in God, and you probably shouldn't call yourself a pastor. I'll yield
Hmm.
back.
I definitely agree, and that's one of the things that I love about my church. Like, we closed down initially just to make sure that this wasn't like the Black Plague or whatever.
You want to make sure
Um,
it wasn't a bioweapon or something, which I guess now it is a bioweapon. So
maybe. Well, we closed down, and then after a few months, we filed a lawsuit to be able to reopen, and we did that on behalf of all of the churches like near us, and we were able to reopen, not at full capacity, but we reopened, and we fought back, and I'm very appreciative of my pastor for doing that. And like, we need pastors to stand up, and I'm not saying like be uber super conservative, like wear a MAGA hat. I think that's kind of over the top, but I'm saying like stand up for the truth, stand up against abortion, stand up against um, all of the corrupt things that are going on in this world today. And I think that pastors are going down this rabbit hole of going to wokeism and progressivism, and it's very dangerous. It's a very slippery slope.
100%. No, it really is. And, it's, it's just sad to see because, they're not leading their flocks anymore. Used to, you look at the Black Robe Regiment, we could talk about that. But I mean, you look at that, pastors used to lead their congregations. They led by example. They didn't hide behind government regulations and cowardly actions. And so I think, and it's not just COVID. It's not just COVID, Alex. I mean, like they're not standing up for anything. Like they're not standing up against the LGBT situation. Like it's like, think about this. Our veterans get 1 day. Those who gave the ultimate sacrifice get 1 day, and we're giving 1 to 2% of the population an entire month. Seriously, an entire month to celebrate. All the corporations are breaking out rainbow toys for the kids to try to normalize this sin and this insanity. It's not okay. It is not okay. I'm a dad. I've got 2 daughters, and no, I'm sorry, it's not okay. Now, here's the thing: I don't care about your lifestyle. If you want to live that lifestyle, that's between you and God. But you're not going to indoctrinate my children. And
Right.
and the fact that parents out there that are supposedly Christians are, you see what they do whenever there's something that they don't like, right? There's a huge pride march and rally, a Black Lives Matter rally, an Antifa rally. You know where I'm going with this. Why aren't there in every major city in America, why aren't there 50,000 Christians out there protesting, Lego or Nintendo or whoever it is that's putting out all of these rainbow colored pride toys and saying, look, you're not going to indoctrinate our children.
Right.
The churches became cowardly. And it's just sad, man. And now if you did that, like you said, you're a xenophobe, you're a homophobe, you're homophobic. It's not about that at all. I don't care what you do, just don't try to cram it down my kid's throat or cram it down my throat. And it's a running joke with my buddies that are Marines, and I feel like it's the same way with the LGBT community, with if you want to know how. Oh, I guess I'll ask you the joke. I do this to Cordy Williams all the time, so when he watches this, he'll send me a real delightful text message. So I'm going to pick on Cordy here, but so if you want to know how do you know when somebody's a Marine?
How do I know when someone's a Marine?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember.
They'll tell you.
Wait. Okay.
They'll tell you. Always.
Oh, okay. I remember that from the conference now.
Yeah. So they'll tell you, and so we always give Cordy heck about that, but it's like, but I feel like that's the same way with the LGBT. How do you know that somebody, is gay anymore in America? They have to tell you. They can't not. It's like, look, I don't walk around going, hey, how's it going, Matt Couch, single dad of 2, straight guy, love women. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't do that, right?
Right.
Girls aren't walking up to us going, hey, how's it going? I'm majoring in such and such. I spent 11 years with this corporation. I really like dudes. I mean, straight people are not walking around telling you what their interests are from a sexual standpoint.
Right.
So why in the world are we accepting the fact that there's this small 1 to 2, maybe 3% of America, and that's all they do is just cram it down our throats? And I think that's why people are so frustrated with this. People like you and I, anyway, and the pastors and those who have the courage to say something. But I think that's part of the problem. We're letting the smaller groups have the bigger voice in America, and that's causing these problems.
It's crazy, and I definitely agree with you. Like, if you want to live that lifestyle, that's between you and God. I don't care.
Sure.
Like, I think you should have
But
the
God
right
says
to.
one sin doesn't outweigh the other. I mean, you could
Mhm,
go steal a pack of juicy fruit, at a convenience store. That's still a sin. You could go, you could go and there sin is sin. You know, we're all, none of us are perfect. There's only been one, and so I'm not judging them based on that, but I also don't have to condone that, right?
mhm,
And that's the thing. Like it's amazing if you go to church, and people say, well, I've had pastors give me this. I've debated pastors on this before, as well, buddy. And I'll just tell you this argument. The pastors of that. So, well, Matt, I've got 1,500 people per service. I've got 4 services on, Sunday. I've got 2 on Saturday. Big churches, right?
right.
And they're not wrong in what I'm about to say, but there's a but to it. And they'll say, so out of 1,500, probably half of my congregation is probably committing adultery.
Mhm,
He said, so, why would I say that, LGBT people can't come to my church? I said, well, who said they can't come to your church? You should encourage them. You should want them in your church.
mhm,
You should want to lead them to Christ and hope that, they become awake enough to understand what they're doing. But he was trying to basically say, well, the church isn't going around and condemning, all the people in the church that are, sinners and committing adultery. And that's right, they're not. But those same people aren't walking around the church going, hey, guess what my sexual preference is. They didn't. There's just a difference, and it's alarming. But no sin outweighs the other. But at the same time, I think we've gotta start standing up to this a little bit. It's engulfing our lives, right? Don't you? I mean,
mhm,
you've got the pride. All America does is virtue signaling more.
mhm.
And I'll yield back, man. But I mean, as you can tell, it's a subject that frustrates me because nobody seems to have the courage to speak out about it.
I definitely agree. And the indoctrination is like on a mega level, especially this month. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy, and it's in the schools, and even like important things are infiltrating into private Christian schools. Like, I was looking at Twitter the other day, and I saw that they were showing kid like first graders, I think, a video of what sex is, or masturbation or whatever. And I'm like, what in the world is going on that we have come to this point of evil, that kind of stuff is being shown in even private schools. Like, it's a mess.
It's sorry, Sean Foyt just retweeted me there. I saw it come across the screen for the thing in Amarillo tomorrow night. Will
Hmm.
the show be up today, right?
It'll be
Yeah.
uploaded on Monday.
Oh, on Monday. All right.
I think
So,
so.
so
Unless you wanted
so
it
my
up today, I can put it up today.
no, 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 don't. No, you're tired. You need some. No, I was gonna say I'm going to Amarillo tomorrow. We've got Sean Foyt performing. Let Us Worship tour kicks off in Amarillo tomorrow night.
Hmm.
So that should be awesome. We're hoping to. I want to baptize 2,000 people tomorrow night. That's the goal.
There you go.
So we're excited about that too. So, but yeah, no, I mean it's I think I wish we had more people like you, and you mentioned Savvy Truth a little bit earlier, and she was at our event too. She's I believe your age. You guys are the future of our party, the future of our
Hmm.
country. People like you and Savvy, young Christians, conservatives. We've got to get more youth like you around other youth. We can't take another. I said this on stage, as many times. We can't take another generation of liberal indoctrination, or America is toast. I know everyone
Hmm.
thinks the biggest threat is Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, or the biggest threat is elections, and elections are very important. They are,
Hmm.
but you've got to win the elections to do what I'm about to bring up. But if we don't get school choice in America in the next
Hmm.
3 to 5 years, to where parents have the choice of either a private school or public school or homeschool, and that money goes to the parents so that the parents can pay for what school they want to send their children to, we're going to be toast as a country, because that's how they are controlling your children. The majority of kids are going to public schools. 90% of elementary, basically K through 12 teachers are liberal. 95, almost 98% of college professors are liberal. And so school choice, allowing your kids to go to a charter school, a Christian school, that is the biggest way that we change the foundation of America and get America back to being America.
Mhm.
Because you're going to have things like chapel day. You're going to have praise and worship. You're going to learn about Jesus. You're going to learn about a moral compass. You're going to learn about the Bible. You're going to
Mhm.
go back to the, like being back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. You're going to learn some skill sets as well. I
Mhm.
think that's the biggest fight America has. Kind of to kind of counter what you were just saying. I think school choice is the biggest fight we have. Whoever is running for the presidency and whoever is running for Congress and the Senate, that would be my talking point. Because if we don't fix school choice in America, if we don't get, and I'll just give you the numbers on, I don't know if I've talked about this on your show or not before, but
Not
the
yet.
average kid or the average parent, I don't know how you say. So when you go to a public school, the average the school gets is $10,500 per kid per year. Now, when you look at the overall grand scheme of things, you go, well, that's not that much money over, like, say, 9 months, right? But there's a but coming, okay? So let's just say you've got the average, kindergarten, first, second, third grade teacher, $50 to $60,000 a year is what these. That's not a bad salary, right?
Mhm.
I mean, when you think about it, you get 3 months off during the year. You're off at 3:30 every day. You've got weekends off. You've got 2 weeks at Christmas. You get spring break, and you see where I'm going with this. I mean, if somebody would have told me when I was your age, hey, if you decide to be, you like history, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, if you
Yeah.
decide to go get a degree in history, you can also coach sports and get a stipend. You could make 50, 60 to 100,000 a year teaching and coaching. By the way, you'll have 3 months off, every weekend off, 2 weeks at Christmas, spring break. I'd have been, if a counselor had said that to me, you'd be talking to Coach Couch right now instead of Matt Couch, because I mean, I would have been, you know, and we need more, we also need more, conservatives to go into teaching, and we don't have that anymore either. But the point of this is the average is 10,500. Let's say you put 30 kids in a classroom, which they try to do anymore in public schools, right? They cram them in. Well,
Mhm.
if the average is 10,500, see where I'm going with this? That puts you well over $300,000 in that class, right? That the government gives the school. The teacher's only making 55, 60,000. You see where I'm going with this with the profit margin, right?
Mhm.
Now, granted, you've got principals and staff and things like that, but they're also getting money for PEs. They've got booster club. They've got all these different things. So if you're in New York, it may be more like 18,000 per kid. If you're in Utah, it might be 6,500. But the overall national average is about 10,500. Now, Alex, you give that money back to the parents. And instead of it going to that public school, it now goes to First Christian School or whatever. And the parents take the money and they put the kid where they want to go.
Mhm.
It's that simple. And if you still want if you still want your kid to go to that public school because it's more convenient to you, or maybe you went there as a child, more power to you. But at least
Right.
the choice is yours. No one's saying you can't send your kids to public school, but you're giving parents that choice. And to me, the only reason why um, a lot of conservative Christians don't put their kids in Christian or private schools because they can't afford it.
Right.
And I think if they could afford it, you would
They
see an
would.
influx of schools exploding and growing, charter schools, private schools, and thus you would have them. You would start changing the mindset. They would learn about God. They would learn about history the right way. They would learn about the America we used to love and know. There wouldn't be critical race theory and all of this nonsense, right? It would literally, um, it would start changing the country from the inside out, from the youth
Mhm.
level, of giving them a chance to not be indoctrinated and just actually learn.
Right.
And
No,
I feel that I think that's a fight we have.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I live in Missouri and BC before COVID. My school would go to a school choice rally in Jefferson City at the Capitol, and I wasn't part of it. It was just like a few seniors that went with the superintendent of the school, but we would fight for school choice, and I think that's definitely needed in America, the right to choose what school you want to go to. And one of the things that I think is part of the downfall of America is like the Supreme Court decision to take prayer out of schools. When that
Hor-
happened, I think what
Horrible decision. Yeah.
it was terrible, and I think that's kind of when everything started to go downhill fast. Uh, 10 about 10 years after that, Roe v. Wade, abortion legal in all 50 states. It just keeps going and going and going. It's like a down, let's see, a snowball effect of evil and sin, and God is not for it.
No, he's not, man. I mean, and I think that's honestly the worst part about that is, like you said, putting God back in schools. And there obviously, that's going to be a fight. There obviously, certain states are trying to do it. Arkansas, I believe, passed that with their legislature, but I'm sure the Democrats will fight that, in federal court. That's going to be a fight for that to last and stick and stay. But yeah, I mean, I think everything we're talking about here, charter schools, private schools, getting God back into school, getting prayer back. I mean, can kids even pray around the flagpole anymore at a school before it starts?
I think once a year during "See You at the Pole," but that's about it.
I mean, how sad is that, right? You can't. Coaches have been fired for praying with their teams before games and after games. I mean, it's just a sad situation, and once again, like you said, let's go back to the pastors. There should have been, there should have been 22 pastors from a town with half their congregations at that school board meeting the next day when they fired that coach. This is cowardly pastors, cowardly Christians. Stand up for the coach, right?
Right.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And you know what it says. I mean, it's pretty simple. The Bible is very clear. If you deny him before, man, he's going to deny you before the Father. And I don't think, and it's almost like 90% of Christians don't even understand that verse. It's pretty simple, right? And so basically, by not standing up for that coach that was praying, I mean, not standing up for him that lost his job for praying. I mean, imagine. I mean, I would be there. You know that about me. Obviously, I lost a marriage for that similar circumstance because I was not going to allow my alma mater to be disrespected. And I stood up for it. I wasn't going to allow children to take knees during the national anthem when I was a platinum sponsor of the sports team, as well as it was I'm a fourth generation resident and my alma mater. And, I would stand, but just think about that. Can you imagine claiming to be a Christian? Your coach gets fired, your head football coach or whatever gets fired for praying with his team, and you don't stand up and go to the school. Would you want to answer for that on Judgment Day? Because I wouldn't. And so I think there's a lot of soul searching out there for a lot of people in this country, Alex.
I agree. Let's go to the conference. So,
Sure.
So you started Faith and Freedom's conference in the beginning of May. What was kind of your head around that? Why did you start the conference?
I felt like the majority of the people doing these events around the country, I mean, the gloves are off with me. I think you kind of know where my mentality is at. We talked before the show with the way the disrespect has been out there with a lot of people in this movement. I have realized that most of these people that are attacking myself or the pastors are exactly, it's like the Democrats. Whatever they accuse you of doing, that's exactly what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
They're grifters. They're doing this for a profit, but they're not making any difference. So the majority of the people running events around the country, they're literally just grifters. They're not coming up with any solutions. They're not putting, up and coming candidates on stage. When you look at our event, we had Alex Stovall and Willie Montague and Bob Lancia and Aja Smith and just, so many people, so many people out there. And there's way more than that, that were there, that were speaking, that are running for office for the U.S. Congress and the Senate. So we wanted to do a conference to put God first, and allow the pastors to have a voice and to lead like they're supposed to. We wanted to combine that with patriotism. So, we had the Christian community that would be like, oh, well, every now and then Matt Couch says something I don't approve of, or Craig Sawyer says something where I'm going with this, I don't approve of. And Pastor Gibson and Locke and the guys are going, look, it's a faith and freedom conference. It's not a Christian conference. And
I was saying,
when they would attack me, oh, well, you should separate church and state. I said, look, it's a faith and freedom conference, but we got attacked mainly by conservatives. We didn't get attacked by liberals. We got attacked by conservatives because they were jealous of the fact that we were doing an event. Many of these groups want to be the only groups in America that can do events. But at the end of the day, they're providing zero solutions. They're charging asinine prices. $1,000, $750, $1,000, $3,500, $5,000. We charge $199. That's it.
Yep.
For all all 6 sessions, 4 days. We had over 60 speakers. Everybody from Lance Wallnau to Tony Schaefer was there. Damani Felder. I mean, I could just keep going. Mindy Robinson, Sarah Gonzalez, Chad Prather. It was just an amazing event of patriots, that were there. But the point is, the reason why we started was I was sick and tired of watching these groups that come up with zero solutions. They don't put God first. They're all about making money, and they're not delivering any solutions. And the average person, Alex, could not afford to go. They just couldn't afford to go. So I wanted truck drivers, HVAC technicians, the plumbers, the welders. I want the backbone of America to feel like their vote matters. All I used to hear on the streets when I travel was, "Hey, man, I don't feel like my vote matters. I don't feel like my voice matters. I don't feel like I'm a part of this movement." And that's kind of what we wanted to change. And I felt like we did a really good job of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. And this is not to be confused with Faith and Freedom's conference. Your conference is faith in apostrophe or whatever.
Yeah, everybody is like stealing the name now all of a sudden. Have you noticed that? Like all these other groups are now starting to use our name. We actually have Faith in Freedom's trademark. In fact, I own the apparel line Faith in Freedoms. So we have that trademarked. But it's bizarre because I've noticed like 7 groups around us have started using the name Faith in Freedoms, which is, it's unbelievable. I mean, and then we had Cat Turd there doing a live Q&A, and which was hilarious. And he's a good dude, a patriot. We both have been retweeted by the president a lot, President Trump, that is. And the interesting thing is, we did that on, I believe, Saturday. On Monday, he was on with Jenna Ellis on Real America's Voice. So people were definitely paying attention to that conference, to what we were doing. We were trendsetters. They always say that, imitation is the best form of flattery, right? Well, people are definitely imitating what we did. And I think that's the testament that the event was very successful from an event standpoint. Obviously, first events, no one made any money. In fact, we took a pretty big hit on the chin, myself and, the pastors, but, it's the first one. And we're going to bounce back and do one August 6th through the 8th in Northwest Arkansas, my stomping grounds. I mean, I will be there, Pastor Brian Gibson, Pastor Greg Locke. You will be there speaking, Pastor Mark Burns, Pastor Dave Scarlett, Lance Wallnau, Craig Sawyer, Mindy Robinson, Sarah Gonzalez. We'll have a lot of the crew, Damani Felder. We're going to have a big crew. Obviously, I believe, I expect to see Alex Stovall and Willie Montague and Bob Lancey and a lot of these kids. Audra Johnson, who's running up in Michigan. There's going to be, I expect to have probably maybe 30 or 40 candidates that come in just to be at this. I don't know if they'll all get to speak, but be at this event. It's going to be a big kickoff event for this area, and it's my stomping grounds. I want it to be where I can, draw a large crowd, and we'll have some surprise guests. I can't talk about it yet on the air, but look like we're going to have some really big names that are going to be at this next one.
It's exciting, and I think you should try and get a young conservative panel. That'd be nice.
That would be great. Yeah, we could do that. We could get you and Savvy up there for sure on that one.
There we go. I think we need young conservatives back, like to stand up and step out, because I think that's not happening at all anymore. And in my generation, if we go like super liberal, then I think our country is done for. And we need to be taught Jesus. We need to be taught the values of Jesus, the values of the Bible. And you know what? I said this in my podcast with Eric Matheny. Like, even if you're not a Christian, I think most of us could agree that the values of the Bible are good values that people should value. Like, don't steal, don't kill, love your neighbor as yourself. Like, these are good values that every one of us should embrace. But I feel like the liberal movement is far from that, and I think we need to stand up and step up for those.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I think that's the that's the kicker of this one, and so we'll do this next one in August. I'm not sure when the next one will be after that, maybe October. And then probably we're even looking at possibly doing one Christmas type event as well, because that's strong in our faith. It's my favorite time of year. I grew up as, I always tell people I'm like Chevy Chase around the holidays. But mainly just because it was tradition. Not only worshiping the birth of Jesus, but a very important day in our faith as Christians. But the way I was raised with my dad, my dad, my grandpa, my mom, like it was a tradition, like we grew up on a farm, and we had a huge, when I say huge Christmas tree, I'm not, like 30, 40, 50 foot tall tree, big Christmas pine tree. And we would get in the bucket, of a tractor and drive around and put the lights on this thing. That's how big it was. And so, decorating all that. I mean, I think that's another thing. That's another one of the real things that, reason why I supported Trump. And I've had everybody from, Rolling Stone to Right Wing Watch write hit pieces on me when I say this. But the fact that Trump, one of his main campaign promises was to bring Merry Christmas back, and was to get people to stop saying Happy Holidays, because it offended the minority group. I felt like that was accomplished. But I was doing it before the president. They wrote Happy Holidays. I would say Merry Christmas just to tick them off, because I don't like the cancel culture. I don't like the PC nonsense. We are a Christian nation, and I think that as Christians, if you really want, there's things we can do. I could do a whole show on this, Alex. But as Christians, we should be pushing extremely hard, like November 1st through January 1st, to really push the Christian holiday. Lights, decorations, events, caroling again. You know where I'm going with this. Like, we need to get back to, old school American values and really start celebrating Christmas like they used to. And not just spreading cheer, but spreading the gospel. And I think that's really missing too, because people, they're not doing any of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. We need faith. We need freedom. We need to start saying Merry Christmas again, because it's a holiday centered around Christ. Like, we wouldn't have what we have today if it was not for Jesus, if it was not for biblical values. So we need to implement those back into our society: faith, freedom. And this world needs Jesus. Our nation needs Jesus, and without him, then we're just going to fall apart. And it seems as if America's lacking him right now, and we need him back.
I agree, sir. 100%. I agree with that. I mean, and I think that's my thing. It seems like a simple step, but it doesn't take a whole lot to, to celebrate Christmas. It doesn't take a whole lot to put up some lights. It doesn't take a whole lot to, say, hey, I haven't seen my friends in a while. You know what? Why don't we, why don't we throw on Ben-Hur or something? You know where I'm going with that. Throw on some. Doesn't have to be a biblical movie. You know what I mean? Throw on, one of your favorite Christmas shows, and have people over and fellowship. And just talk, just fellowship again. Celebrate the time of year. That's something that I feel like we're taking, especially with the last year, we took for granted. And let's get back to just, loving your neighbor and literally just, celebrating these times, and don't let the mainstream media and the liberal idiocy take away from our faith and things we enjoy as Americans. And I feel like we're letting them win by just saying, oh, well, I'm going to do this. No. We need to take it back. Let's take our country back with even by just going back to old school traditions, Alex. We can take the country back in certain aspects.
Amen. I definitely agree. Well, with that being said, that's going to come to an end of the episode. Thank you, Matt, for being able to get on this show and talk a little bit. But thank you all for listening, and that's going to come to an end of the episode. Thank you all.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.